Hi, everybody. My name is Ronnie Smith. I live outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And today, my first cousin, Michael Earl Tart, was funeralized in Mullins, South Carolina. I'm not going to preach a sermon or anything like that, but I just want to give a personal tribute to my first cousin, Mike Tart. You've heard of Michael Jordan, you heard of Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, Michael B. Jordan. You could think of any other Mike that you have in your life or that the world knows. Be like Mike. Mike was my first cousin. I definitely wanted to be like Mike. We moved to South Carolina when I was 6 years old, 1971, way back in the day. And Mike lived, we all lived on Little Petey Island Road in Nichols, South Carolina. And Mike was my closest thing that I've ever had to a big brother in my young childhood. Mike was 3 years older than I was, born 1962. I'm born in 1965. He was in the high school class of 1980. I was in the class of 1983, both at Mullins High School. And Mike taught me every sport that I've ever played except for soccer and golf. We played baseball in season. My favorite team before moving to Nichols was the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mike switched me over to going for the Baltimore Orioles. My favorite team in football was the New York Jets. Mike switched me to going for the Los Angeles Rams. And I don't think I had a favorite basketball team, but Mike made sure that I was going for the Milwaukee Bucks. His favorite player was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which made my favorite player Oscar Robertson, who was a point guard. And to this day, I still pull for the University of North Carolina Tar Heels, all because of my cousin, Michael Tart. Mike also, many of you do not know, Mike was actually, during the summer months of school, we used to have this pretend radio station named from a Parliament Funkadelic song, WEFUNK, We Funk. And so we would play records. This was before any of us were old enough to have summer jobs or anything. And so we would play records at my house in Nichols, South Carolina. And Mike was our program director. And I think maybe Mike, I don't know if it was his junior year or senior year, before he graduated in 1980, Mike was a part of the broadcasting club at Mullins High School. And we had a neighborhood friend who was a DJ. And so Mike, he and Mike were the same age, same graduating class. Emerson Gilcrease, Youngblood, Emerson Youngblood Gilcrease. And from Emerson being on WCIG, Mike was, our program director, WEFUNK, and he actually could DJ, but this was back in the day where we only had one turntable. And so we had to use either cassette tapes or 8-track for the second turntable to keep the music playing. But Mike could create a very good playlist. And so when I got to the high school, we only had 1 year of school together. That was his senior year. That was my freshman year in high school. I later joined the broadcasting club, and took all the lessons that Mike gave to me, because he taught me how to play baseball. He taught me how to play, football. And I'm talking about the rules and how to play and everything. He pretty much taught me how to play basketball. We would shoot basketball behind his house in Nichols. And so Mike shaped my early childhood. My early childhood memories, we were playing sports year round. I didn't play organized sports until, I got to junior high intramurals and everything. But we played sports year round, baseball, football, basketball. And I owe everything that I know about sports to my first cousin, Michael Tart. And And yesterday we celebrated my youngest daughter's graduation from high school. And when I first heard the news last Thursday night, it was a shock to the entire family. And the only thing I could think of in terms of this week was the high school graduation. But then I realized that I had other commitments around the graduation, and it just was going to be impossible to attend. I have seen the services that were held in Mullins today that were shared by Troy's Funeral Home, and I want to thank the funeral home for doing that. And, his many high school classmates and friends over the years, I thank you for your words. I thank Nazarene Baptist Church, First Friendship Baptist Church, because, everything that I remember about Mike, he was a trailblazer for me. He played baseball at a young age for this team, Nichols Hornets, and the team wasn't around by the time I was old enough to play. But, he taught me the lessons he learned. And so from a very young age, he was a very good coach. I mean, he taught you the rules of the game. He taught you the strategy of the game, and he made sure that we had fun. And so everything that, that I learned from Mike, I've used since. I'm still using, I taught soccer and coached soccer, but all of that goes back to what Mike taught me back in the 1970s. That decade. And I love you as a brother, Mike. We will miss you. We will miss everything that you brought to the world. And one of the biggest surprises that I remembered as a result of his homegoing that I surprised Mike with back in the late 90s, Irvin Magic Johnson opened a theater here in Metro Atlanta. And it was amazing. I had already been called to the ministry earlier that spring. And, God laid it on my heart that, okay, you're going to go to the grand opening the next day, and you're going to meet Magic Johnson. That was laid on my heart. And so I looked it up today. It was November 15th, 1996. And so I get up the next day. I have a camcorder. Like I said, this was late 90s. And I go out to Greenbrier, the mall, but then I go get a haircut. And so I'm in the barbershop getting a haircut. And lo and behold, who walks in other than Irvin Magic Johnson? And he had a couple of members of his staff with him. And so I'm in the barbershop getting a haircut. And, it's just a surprise and a shock to all of us. But I know my camcorder is in the car. So as soon as I finished, shook hands, everything, I went straight out to the car. I went straight back in. And I was dressed professionally and everything. I had my tie and everything. And I'm the person in the barbershop with the camcorder recording Magic Johnson getting a haircut, his staff there. I'm making sure that I don't get too close to the chair. I don't want to bump the barber or anything like that. And in this video, I get Magic Johnson to give my cousin Mike a shout out. And my next trip home to South Carolina, when I played the video for Mike, his surprise, his shock, his joy is something that I will never forget in my life. I mean, he was so happy to see Magic Johnson for one, and to know that his cousin met Magic Johnson, but to hear Magic give Mike this shout out on this video made his day. And I want to thank Magic Johnson for that as well. And so anytime we have these special people in our lives, none of us are self-made. No matter how much we want to think that we've done something, none of us are self-made. We all have had a trailblazer, an usher. And I just remember Mike was an usher before I was, and sometimes we did usher together at church. He got baptized. He joined the church before I did, 3 years before I did. And so we all have these trailblazers. We all have these people who open the doors for us, who show us the way to go by their example. They may teach us formally, they may teach us informally, but by their true example, they give us something to look forward to, and they raise the profile of what we should be doing and how we should be trying to live with our own lives. And for me, that person is my first cousin, Michael Earl Tart. And so I wanted to share this not only with, Uncle June, Aunt Charlotte. You have my deepest condolences, but I want the rest of his friends, my friends, anyone around the world who gets to see this video. I want you to know that, yes, this world has been blessed by a great man of God. I have been personally blessed by a great first cousin, and like I said, an older brother to me. And so if you have this type of person in your life, I'm asking you to please cherish them and to thank God for them. And so be like Mike. Yes, that Michael Earl Tart is the Mike who I was, I still am, and will ever be trying to be like. Thank you, and thank you for your time. God bless. Godspeed.